So in the last episode, we successfully imported the time and AFS library, and we also modeled a little bit of the guns, and finally we imported the AFS library and successfully copied the gun engine folder over to the generator. So now we're going to actually dig into the gun engine folder and look at what we want to keep, because there are parts of it that are not going to be very useful to us. So here's the static, and this is what we're going to be looking at. So let's go ahead and close everything else just so it's a little bit more streamlined. Well, we got to keep the pack.mc meta in the data because this is still going to be exported as a data pack. And the Minecraft, I think, will change in a bit. Minecraft, we will change eventually, but we got to find a naming convention for the raycast. We've got all of these functions, and we've got hitboxes, and these are all passable blocks. So what's nice about having the passable blocks already here is that we don't have to hard code them. And you'll understand what these passable blocks are. Basically, any non-full block, so in this example, a wall, I detect whether or not projectile is hitting any part of the wall. So that's why there's so many if statements, if block, and then we detect the pixels within X because we're multiplying the position and then modulating it. Is that the correct terminology? Taking the modulus of it in 16. So we're getting the pixel of it. That's how this all works. But we want to keep all of this. We might change the blocks, hitboxes later, but for now it's going to work perfectly fine. So I'm going to leave passable the same. Hitboxes, I'm going to leave for now until we create a hitbox generator, which is more fun. These bounce X, Y, and Z we might keep in case if we want to have a bouncing bullet, which is always fun. So these bounce ones I think we can keep too. I should put them in a folder, so let's go ahead and do that. New folder, bounce, and then just move X, Y, Z, and then bounce itself. We're gonna have to call those in different ways. So in bounce, we're gonna raycast bounce X. We're gonna have to add a, but I'm not going to worry about the folder paths yet because we're going to definitely change a lot of these things. Hitboxes, this is a list of hitboxes. So we're going to keep this because this is going to be dynamically changed later within our generator. Launch, this is what happens when you start the data pack or run the reload command. Let's go ahead and rename that load. Ray, this is what runs only when raycast is actually being ran. And this is what's run when, this is being run every tick. So it's replacing the hotbar of a player. And then subray is what happens every 16 ticks, which doesn't make sense. It should be super ray, but so not 16 ticks, 16 pixels, or every block basically. So really we can keep a lot of this stuff. The tags are useful for using them in the Minecraft or the hitbox detection, so we do keep those. We group similar blocks so we don't have to detect each and every block individually. So I think we can keep just about everything here. Okay, so now we've got the gun engine figured out and we're keeping just about everything. Let's go ahead and close that, and we're going to work on separating each gun individual. So this is going to be kind of fun because it's not going to be too difficult. We call these the instructions. So we can access parts of the instructions object. So instructions.guns, let's print that. I'm going to comment this out since we're not going to do anything. So we can access the guns part of the instructions by doing instructions.guns here. And interestingly enough, if we add a part of it that is, let's say, melee, and this is just an example, I'll just put 1. This is going to be an object later, so we can just leave it. But now if we run it, when it prints it, it only displays the guns part. Kind of cool. So it prints out all of the laser pistol and all the plasma pistol, but you notice it didn't print out melee. So now if we go back and actually delete the .guns, it will print that. So now we can access parts of it by using this dot method. So now let's try to figure out how to get the length of guns, because we don't want to create a whole list of instructions for every gun. We want to create one list of instructions that runs for every gun, and we want to create a for loop for that. So for every gun there is, run these instructions on. So I don't know if this will work. So printed undefined, which is not what we want. We want 2, or yeah, we want 2 because we want the amount of guns there are. So laser pistol and plasma pistol. So maybe it's a function like that, like a method. And now it's saying, well, this isn't a function. So that's not what we want. So how do we read the list of guns? So what we actually want is object.keys. So now that's printing out 2. Perfect. We're going to be using the object.keys quite a bit. And I think that's what it does is it creates a list out of an object or an array. Okay, so now we've got this value of 2. Let's go ahead and copy that and actually paste that in this for loop. Okay, so now we've got that value of 2. We want let I equals 0. So we always start I off at 0, or not always, but usually. And as long as I is less than 2, in this case, it's going to be dynamic because we can change the length of the instructions. We can add 1 to I. So as long as this all works out, then it'll keep iterating. So it should run twice. So now what we can do is rather than doing .length here, we can copy this and then get the ith object. And let's go ahead and console.log that just to see if it works. So perfect. So it printed up 2 here because there's 2 different guns, and then it printed off laser pistol and plasma pistol. So what the object.keys does, it creates an array of just the items within guns. So it says add this to the array and add this to the array. And in fact, we can print that out by doing this. Rather than doing length here, we can just do object.keys. And then we can see it creates an array of the 2 sub-objects, or every sub-object in this case. Perfect. This is exactly what we want. So now we can actually iterate for every gun there is. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this since we do not need it any longer. Let's go ahead and start labeling a few things. This is a very important part of programming, is writing what is happening. So people come back to it, or most likely you come back to it and you're like, wow, this is confusing. You write comments so that you know what's going on. So this is just the import stuff. That's what that's doing up there. This is copy files from static to generated, read instructions, begin generating. And let's go ahead and make a time.portal flag. And what's really cool is we can create a time.portal inside of the object, so we can see how long each individual gun takes to create. So let's do time.portal, and we want basically this. So it'll print the name of the object, and then I'll comment that out. It should be pretty instantaneous. So laser pistol took 0 seconds, reading instructions took 0, gun generation took 0 total, and the current runtime is 59 because it still had to copy the files over. Let's create a portal for that. Perfect. We got to close out of these so we don't have a million of these running. And then now we can see copy files took 55, and these all took 0, or a very tiny amount, and total is 56. We can always comment the portals out too, so that it's not spamming the chat as much. But I think this will be perfectly fine in this case. I think that's pretty good for this episode. We're going to be looking more at very beginning the actual generation of commands next, because we've got this for loop set up, and we can also read from this instructions. So we're going to be setting some of these values up. But until then, thanks for watching and have a great day.